So much insecurity in this country. We are prisoners in our own homes. You can't even walk the streets freely. It doesn't make sense. This is our country. This is our motherland. It has to be protected. Our lives and properties need to be protected. If there is a will, there will definitely be a way.
We're here live in Lagos, Nigeria. The signal from, we're here live in Lagos, Nigeria. I think I want to be at the presidential debates.
Exactly. Everybody is anticipating to see the president. We were talking on Twitter. They really want to see, and I know a lot of people are back from work. Some people are staying back at work to see the presidential aspirant talk.
A lot of people actually were even driving and sending us tweets, and they were also contacting us on Facebook, telling us that they want to know what they've missed so far. Once again, we apologize. You haven't missed anything. Everything is coming to you in just a few minutes. Please continue to bear with NN24. Before we took that quick break and the signal was interrupted, we were talking about education in Nigeria. And one of the statistics that we have is that education was given less than the required 15% of the national budget. Now, a lot of people will tell you the educational system in Nigeria has a lot of problems, and the biggest problem they name is the quote-unquote brain drain. Well,
you know, at times when you look back at it and it's pitiable, the situation of education at the moment in Nigeria. A whole lot of people now travel out of the country to go and study abroad, and it's really pathetic. And you know, at times when people leave the country, a whole lot of things that is supposed to be invested in Nigeria is taken abroad. And now we're seeing some live feeds from Abuja, and you can see the venue is set, security checks are completed, and at any moment from now, the debate will start.
And as we continue talking about issues that we expect the aspirants to discuss or even have to deal with, as we continue with the debate with the education sector, the brain drain, a lot of people we've had who've come into the NN24 studio have talked about making sure you get the young demographic, the 18 to 35, you finish secondary school, you finish, you're going to university. We have to find a way to get them to consider university in Nigeria and also consider working to develop the Nigerian economy.
Exactly, because where they get from, they should be able to give back to that same environment. And you see, we have Nigeria is blessed with a whole lot of human resources. And you know, when people were trained here and they go outside the country to go and impart in some other community, but people really, and this is something that is really affecting our economy. You think about it, that don't we have enough expertise, people who are equipped with the expertise we need on ground?
Sean, I have to interrupt you. We're going to go straight to Abuja right now.
A world, a nation in search of transformation. Benson Idahosa University is raising leaders to lead the change through academic excellence, entrepreneurship, and professionalism. Benson Idahosa University, lead the change.
It's going to be a great week. This week, our business goes national. It's all planned. Monday, our new cars arrive. On Tuesday, our new office is open. We had a little road mishap on Wednesday, but our plan covered that too. Now, Friday is our public offer.
What?
Oh, there was a small burglary at the office on Thursday. But our plan covers that as well. Where are we? Sunday. Our partners from China.
Sometimes life doesn't care what day it is, but things are so much simpler when you have a plan, especially when it's a GT Assure plan. Choose Guaranteed Trust Assurance PLC for life and living.
Abuja, as we broadcast the 2011 edition of the presidential debate hosted by NN24. My name is Kadria Ahmed of Next Newspapers. In just a moment, we will be introducing the men who are seeking the highest elected office in the country. Out of these men, one person will become, after the April elections, the next president and commander-in-chief of Nigeria's armed forces. Tonight, and over the course of the next 2 hours, each aspirant will be answering questions that touch at the heart of the issues that are important for Nigerians. But first, I'd like us to please spare a moment and listen to the Chief Executive Officer of NN24, Mr. Tony Dara.
My name is Tony Dara. I'm here to say thank you for coming for this historic occasion. We've organized this to enhance our democracy. Ladies and gentlemen, it's all about the voters. And it's a momentous occasion for us and for the candidates to tell us what they have for us. I also want to thank those who have made this occasion possible, especially my able colleague, Nadia Lawanson, who 5 months ago thought about having this debate in my office. But without much ado, I want to welcome you all and wish you a good debate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dara. We were expecting the President, Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. We still hope that he will think it important to join us, but we will not wait. But we will not wait, okay? Now, I'd like to introduce our distinguished candidates, and I hope that as I call out their names, they will come and join me on the stage. I'd like to start by introducing General Muhammadu Buhari of the Congress for Progressive Change. Malam Nuhu Ribadu of the Action Congress of Nigeria. And last but certainly not the least, Malam Ibrahim Shekara of the All Nigeria People's Party. I'd like to thank the distinguished candidates for taking the trouble and taking the time to come and tell Nigerians what their plans are for this country. Thank you very much. Now, tonight's debate is governed by a strict set of rules, which all of the candidates have agreed to be bound by. So I will recap those rules very briefly. Each aspirant will be making an opening statement of 2 minutes. After that, they are also going to be given an opportunity to speak for a minute to rebut whatever another candidate has said. As part of these rules, time is of the essence, and I will be adhering strictly to time. I'll be watching the clock. There's also a timekeeper on the floor. When the time is 20 seconds to go, the timekeeper will ring a bell, which sounds like this. That means there are 20 seconds to go, and at the expiration of those 20 seconds, the candidate will be expected to stop speaking. The audience is expected to observe the rules as stated before the commencement of this debate. Now let's get started. We want to start with the opening statements, and we have decided to take this alphabetically. So I'd like to start by asking General Muhammadu Buhari to please give us his opening statement.
Good evening, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. This debate, or this presentation, is all about having confidence again in governance and in politicians, more in fact on politicians. We in the CPC have decided that the important issues to be discussed at our present situation is firstly the security of the nation state itself. There is no point people working very hard only to be kidnapped and money demanded more than perhaps what they ever owned in life. There is no question of any serious investor anywhere in the world seriously coming to invest in Nigeria, because...
General, I will have to stop you. I've been told that your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sure over the course of the evening you will get a chance to tell people a little bit more about your programs. I'd like to move very quickly to Malam Nuhu Ribadu, please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nuhu Ribadu. I am 50 years, a child of independence. I hold a master's degree of law, and I was called to the Nigerian bar in 1984. I joined the Nigerian police force in 1985, and ever since I've been in the service of my country. I worked for 25 years. I reached the rank of Assistant Inspector General of Police. One of the last responsibilities I did was to establish the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, which I led up to some few years ago. I am here contesting for the office of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria because, like all of you, I believe there is a need for change. Time of change has come. And this event indeed proved that time of change is here and we need it. I am not here because of luck. I've worked all my life. I have deliberately and consciously come out to contest for the office of the President of Nigeria. I am young. I belong to the age bracket of vibrant young leaders in the world today.
Your time is up, I'm afraid, Malam Ribadu. I'm going to have to stop you. Malam Shekara, you have the floor, please.
Distinguished and respected ladies and gentlemen, my party, the All Nigeria People's Party, has 5 major focal areas, which is summarized as FEND. The F stands for freedom, E stands for equity, and N stands for nationality, D for development, and S for security. All of these factors are about human development. And for us to achieve and realize these 5 major objectives, we broke them down into 2 components. That is human development, which we call democratic humanism, and social justice. These are the 2 major channels through which we shall be achieving these 5 major objectives. Human development, of course, is about enhancement of the capacity.
Your time is up, I'm afraid. Thank you so much. Now, we have to go for a break, but when we return, we're going to actually look at the personal records of each of these candidates on issues of governance and corruption. Join me after the break.
I have it all planned. It's gonna be a great week. Today is my birthday. On Wednesday, it's my wedding anniversary, so I'm planning something special. Oh, I almost forgot. I had a little fire in my office on Tuesday, but I had a plan for that too. Good news. Friday, I'm on leave. Sunday, my wife and I are going on vacation. What? Oh yes, I had a little car accident on Thursday. Don't worry, my plan covers that too. On Sunday, my wife and I are jetting off to the scenic mountains of Obodo Cattle Ranch.
Sometimes life doesn't care what day it is, but things are so much simpler when you have a plan, especially when it's a GT Assure plan. Choose Guaranteed Trust Assurance PLC for life and living.
Welcome back. Now, we'd like to start by asking the candidates specific questions. And Malam Nuhu Ribadu, I'd quite like to start with you. On September 27, 2006, while briefing the Senate on your Commission's anti-corruption activities, you indicted Mr. Ahmed Bola Tinubu of corruption. You said, and I quote, "Bola Tinubu is a looter of international dimensions." Now, given what you said about Ahmed Bola Tinubu, can I ask you why Nigerians should believe you? Doesn't this raise serious morality and ethical issues about you, because you're now working with the man and trying to become the president of Nigeria?
With respect, Kadria, I did not say so. I never said he's a looter of international standard or whatever. What I said, and I was making report to all the cases that we were investigating then, I said the case of Bola Tinubu was a case involving international dimension. It was not a case that was being handled by the EFCC. Therefore, I will not have much to say about it. In any case, I have never come out to judge and sentence an individual before taking him to the court.
Are you going on the record as saying you are 100% sure that Mr. Ahmed Bola Tinubu has not done anything that can be seen as corruption? Is that what you're saying?
I will 100% tell you that Mr. Bola Ahmed Tinubu is one Nigerian that I respect very much because of the work he did in this country. He promoted democracy. He supported the growth of this one. He confronted PDP. He made it impossible for PDP to run over this country. Today, everybody knows what is happening in our country. He supported the growth of the Action Congress of Nigeria, and today is the #1 performing party in Nigeria. You have seen what is happening in Lagos. You have seen what is happening in Edo State. You have seen what is happening in Ekiti State. You have seen what is happening in Osun State.
You will understand that there will be Nigerians who will say that this is really about very strange bedfellows and this is about convenience. You want to run for office, you found a platform, and it seems you are ready to trade principles for that.
In politics, I believe every Nigerian has a constitutional right to belong to a political party. No one has right to stop any other person. That is one. Two, I have no arrogance to feeling that holier than thou, that I am the honest one and every other person is not. I don't have that. I believe that every Nigerian given opportunity and chance will contribute to make this country better. I do not judge people. I do not sit in judgment of individuals. Three, I believe that if there is chance and if there is hope for this country, it is for every Nigerian to come and contribute and make this country work, including every single person that is a Nigerian. I have no problem whatsoever in especially becoming a president of Nigeria. He's not going to become a president of few people or religious people or priests or imams. You are going to be a president of every single person in Nigeria. You must be ready to be honest. You must be honest to treat everybody fairly. Just what matters is the process.
Thank you very much, Malam Nuhu Ribadu. Now, I'm moving very swiftly to General Muhammadu Buhari. Sir, you were a president during a military regime, and you were quoted in an interview with the Daily Times, I think in January 6, 1984, when you were asked about transition to military rule, as saying that we have not discussed the question of a return to democracy in the military council. The problem we have now is how to revive the economy of the country, ensure discipline at home and respect abroad. In addition to all that, your regime was known to be a little bit autocratic. Now, given your antecedents when you were a military leader, why should Nigerians vote for you under a democratic dispensation?
Thank you very much. Firstly, I'm happy you said that when the question was put to me about democracy, then I said we have not decided about it. It means that within the military government I had the honor to lead, I was democratic. As the President of the Supreme Military Council, the Chairman of the National Council of State, and the Chairman of Council of Ministers, when I say we, these three governmental structures at the federal level, we decided on each issue, whether it is budgeting, whether it is on security, whether it is in any aspect of government, before the other part of government is given the opportunity to execute such a decision from government. There are ministries, there are parastatals, there are security institutions. So the part of the constitution that the military administration under me suspended were, of course, the election and the partisan politics.
Okay, now, unfortunately, I have to go for another break, but we will take the conversation and continue it after the break from where you stopped, because I think we have not spent as much time as we did with Malam Nuhu Ribadu. So let's take a break. When we return, we'll give General Buhari a chance to finish up the answer he gave, and then we move to Mr. Chitara.
A world in need of direction. A nation in search of transformation. Benson Idahosa University is raising leaders to lead the change through academic excellence, entrepreneurship, and professionalism. Benson Idahosa University, lead the change.
It's going to be a great week.
This week, our business goes national. It's all planned. Monday, our new cars arrive. On Tuesday, our new office is open. We had a little road mishap on Wednesday, but our plan covered that too. Now Friday is our public offer. What? Oh, there was a small burglary at the office on Thursday, but our plan covers that as well. Where are we? Sunday. Our partners from China.
Sometimes life doesn't care what day it is, but things are so much simpler when you have a plan, especially when it's a GT Assure plan. Choose Guaranteed Trust Assurance PLC for life and living.
Welcome back. You are watching live the presidential debate hosted by NN24. Before the break, we were talking to General Muhammadu Buhari, one of the candidates, about his antecedents and whether, as a former military dictator, he actually has the right to ask Nigerians to vote for him. And unfortunately, we ran into problems with time, so I'd like you to conclude your statement and then we move on.
Well, it's basically is about the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999. Every person of the age of 18 and above can aspire to any office, from councillor of a local government to the president. I am using that facility to ask Nigerians to vote for me.
Will you be able to operate as a democratic leader, given your history? Will you be able to work with democratic institutions?
Yes, my antecedents in politics have shown that in 2003, I believe Nigerians know what happened. We lost an election. I didn't go on the street. I went to court and I spent 30 months. In 2007, again, I contested. Again, the Supreme Court was the last call, and it split, the decision of the Supreme Court split the court into two. 3 justices of the Supreme Court said the election was flawed. 3 said it can be managed. Nigeria could not run another election. The Chief Justice then casts the vote for the government then, which means I'm democratic. I spent 50 months in court asking for my right. The election were rigged, and the international community observer team report and our internal observer team report confirmed that the election were rigged. I didn't go to the street, I went to the court, and I spent 50 months in court between 2003 and 2008.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm going to move very swiftly on to Malam Ibrahim Shekaro. Now, Malam Shekaro, Nigeria is a plural society, and yet in the state that you govern, Kano State, the Hisbah, which is the morality police, is known to brutally enforce Sharia, and in the process sometimes trampling on people's rights as enshrined in the Nigerian Constitution. How do you reconcile this intolerance with your desire to be the leader of a country as diverse as Nigeria?
Thank you very much. In the first place, I do not agree that the Hisbah was brutalizing and overriding the constitutional right of our citizens. We did not just wake up and create the Hisbah without going through the legislation. We used the same constitutional provision that allowed any state to create any policy, any program, any law that will maintain law and order within the state. The Hisbah is no more than what today you call community policing. We have the Hisbah in virtual evil community. Their duty is to ensure there is peace, there is law abiding, and this is exactly what they do. It is those who violate the rules of the land. And we did challenge anyone, whoever thinks that the Hisbah has done anything to him contrary to the rules and regulations governing the land, to take his case to the law courts and challenge the creation of the Hizbah. So we didn't just by the wave of the hand create the Hizbah. It went through the legislation. There is law promulgated. In fact, the first item on the law of the Hizbah is to assist the Nigerian police in the maintenance of law and order.
Now, you say that, but in practical terms, the impact of the Hizbah in Kano has included killing a film industry that was providing employment, what is known in Nigeria as Kannywood. So there has been an exodus of filmmakers out of Kano who get harassed when they are on shoots, who have been asked to submit their scripts for inspection, and a total disregard of the people's right to express themselves through art in that particular way.
No, I think it's totally wrong. The Hizbah has nothing to do with the censorship. We have a full-fledged censorship board created by law through the legislation. And the censorship board has created rules and regulations governing the conduct of any film industry. We have a right to decide what is right for the community. A government has the moral responsibility to protect the right, the interest, the aspiration of the society. So all we did was to create, we said, if you want to register and run a film industry, you should comply with A, B, C, D, E, F. And we told anybody who feels that any of these rules or regulations contradicts the provision of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria should challenge us in court, and nobody has done that anymore.
Will you be... You seem to be very strong in terms of protecting the rights of the majority. What about the rights of the minority in societies that you govern?
We are protecting. In fact, it may interest you to know that Kano State today is the most peaceful state in Nigeria. If you ask any of the so-called minority or the non-indigenous, they are quite happy, they are quite peaceful. In fact, today, you'll be surprised to find that those you call non-indigenous or even the non-Muslim prefer to go for settlement of disagreement within the community, either to the Hizbah board or to the censorship board. We don't have any problem at all. The rules are working, the society has accepted it, and the film industry is thriving very well. All we're saying is abide by the rules and regulations. And there is no community that will live without guiding principles, without rules and regulations, and think there will be discipline and order in that community.
Thank you, sir. Now, since Nigeria started exploring oil, the benefits have included poverty, environmental degradation, and criminality in the region. Let me start by asking you, Malam Nuhu Ribadu, what will be your solution to these problems?
Come again, ask the question.
Since we started exploring oil, all we have benefited from, particularly for the people of the Niger Delta region, has been poverty, environmental degradation, and in recent times, criminality. How would you address these problems if you are voted and you become the president of Nigeria?
Thank you. The problem of the Niger Delta is also the problem of Nigeria. It is a region that has produced so much, but unfortunately has not been able to translate it into development growth. We've neglected that part. We will have to change. We have to, as a matter of urgency, go back. We have seen what this government is doing, creating agencies, making just patronage outfits, and taking care of very few people. Action Congress of Nigeria and my own administration, with my team, will come up with a Marshall Plan, a plan that is going to address the entire and the totality of the problems confronting this region. We are not going to be wasting time with bureaucracies. We are going to ensure the resources that is coming out from there, constitutionally supposed to go to that region, will be channeled and put into addressing those issues. The environment you talk, yes, it has to be addressed. 2, youth employment, young men and young women who are today almost really being taken out of everything. We have to get back and see that they are given a chance and opportunity for them to contribute. We have to work on issue of poverty. We must address and then come up with a system that will be able to inject money and make the private sector work in the Niger Delta.
It sounds really good, but these are sort of just really very general plans. Can you be a little bit more specific?
And that is what has been going on. The difference in the administration that we intend to bring in is that we are going to have a Marshall Plan. This Marshall Plan is going to address one by one. We have a program, for example, on issue to do with building houses. We have a program on building roads, road constructions. We have a program on employment. We have a program on supporting through SMEs, small-scale industries to come up. Individuals will be empowered for them to pursue whatever they want. We have specific things that are going to be addressed on the environment. We believe that the companies that are operating in that region has the responsibility, first and foremost, to ensure that wherever they are operating, it is a place that the way they made it, so they must maintain it. Indeed, that is one of the things that is lacking in that region. Ability for responsible agencies to play the role assigned to them and for us to see the difference. We do intend to come up with a comprehensive plan, not just Niger Delta, whatever you call it. Tomorrow, Ministry of Niger Delta. Next tomorrow, you are having an. It is not working. It has failed. We do intend
Thank you
to have
very much, Madam Buhari. Thank you, Madam Buhari. General Muhammadu Buhari, how will you deal with the issue of militancy in the Niger Delta?
Well, we know how militancy started. Young people were armed, given ammunition, and sent against political opponents. Honestly, we know what happened. And after winning the elections, the militants were asked to return the weapon. They said no. If we examine the reason, it's very clear. If a young man, a teenager, is earning $50,000 a week, why should he go to school and spend 20 years and earn 100,000 naira a month? We said it before. In the CPC, we decided that the leadership, the traditional leadership, the operating company leadership, and the government at all the 3 tiers of government would have to come together and critically examine the issue of militancy in the Niger Delta and deal with it within the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
It sounds like what you're saying is you still don't have a solution. You're going to have to sit down and come up with a solution. Is that what you're saying?
No, we have a solution. The solution is we have to sit down with the Niger Delta militants leadership. We have to sit down with their leadership, their traditional leadership. We have to sit down with the operating companies because they know the problem right from the word go. We have to rehabilitate those young men.
How is your program for the Niger Delta different from the 2 other candidates?
The issue of Niger Delta is not necessarily about the militants. You see, coming from a background as a trained guidance counselor, you need to go back to the root, get back to the community. There is something that tells them that there is total loss of confidence in governance. Before this young man, before you get these young men to start carrying weapons and harassing everybody, they must have had some inkling, some feeling that their leaders, their elders down there in their villages have the grudge that both governments at local, state and federal government are not being fair to them. The sum total of the problem of Niger Delta is a problem of total loss of confidence, and the only part, the solution to do, of course, when you are dealing with the militants, you have to go back and address the issue of loss of confidence. How do you address this local problem that they are having? Nobody seems to be going back to that. It's not about getting these militants and asking them to bring the weapons, giving them money. We've done that. The amnesty is no longer working. They are going back to the root because we have not addressed the issue. It's not about 1-2 year issue, but the issue is go back to the root, sit down with them, discuss with them, and allocate appropriate funds at all levels to make sure that the problems are adequately addressed.
Now the thing is, you know, we keep hearing sit down with the militants, talk to them, but existing governments have sat down with the militants. I mean, we have an ongoing amnesty.
What I'm saying is not about the militants. The government is sitting with the militants is not about just the militants. What are you doing about the old and the young and the people back home in the communities? It's not just about the militants. The militants are somehow speaking loud in the minds of the teeming population back home. If you call just the leaders of the militants, this is just one of the byproducts of the grudge back home. What you need to do is to go back and sit with the communities, identify what the root causes are, what are the problems, what measures are you going to take at all levels of government and address the issue.
Now, Malam Ribadu, you know that there's a PIB bill that is making its way through the legislative arm of government, a petroleum bill.
Yes.
Are you satisfied with the role of multinational oil companies in Nigeria? If you're not, what are the areas that concern you, and what would you like to see changed?
I'm not satisfied. And indeed, the bill itself, there are so many areas that will require improvement and changes. It's a good thing because it is a progress in what we've been. The fundamental thing that we need in this industry is openness, transparency, accountability in the way we manage these resources. Today, NNPC is a closed place. No one knows what is going on there. It's a small clique of people who are in control of it. They are in conspiracy with the oil companies. The oil companies are at home and feeling safe. They do what they like, no questions asked. They are almost literally above the law. It has to change. They cause the problems that we found that is happening today in the Niger Delta and indeed the oil industry. I wanted to say, and I will say it again, that the problem, the insecurity, the lack of inability to get the maximum out of that industry, and indeed the Niger Delta, is simply because we've not been able to address those fundamental issues. Issue of economy and justice. Economy. Ability for us to get maximum out of what we have. Use it properly in a way that people will see benefit. 2, if you want peace, you must go through the road of justice, fairness. The oil companies have been in conspiracy so far. They have not been on the side of Nigerians.
Are you not concerned that you're sitting talking about multinational companies who contribute a lot to the Nigerian economy, that you might actually scare people off investing in Nigeria?
Well, they should know that it is in their own best interest that when we should have peace there. For them to do business, for them to make maximum out of whatever is on the ground, they must work towards also ensuring that the people are okay and happy. We have seen it happen in Botswana. Botswana is a country with similar history with Nigeria, a country that depends on natural resources. But it is a country that made good use of their own resources, simply because from the onset, the companies that are exploiting the resources participated in the growth and development of the local community. This is what is needed. This is the area we should go. So far, we have failed. There is a total disconnection between the oil companies and those who are operating in the Nigeria.
Thank you so much, Malam Nuhuribadu. It's time for a short break. When we return, we spend a bit more time looking at the Nigerian economy. How does a government put money in people's pocket? How do we make it possible for Nigerians to earn an honest living? Join us after the break.
It's my birthday. On Wednesday, it's my wedding anniversary, so I'm planning something special. Oh, I almost forgot. I had a little fire in my office on Tuesday, but I had a plan for that too. Good news. Friday, I'm on leave. Sunday, my wife and I are going on vacation. What? Oh yes, I had a little car accident on Thursday. Don't worry, my plan covers that too. On Sunday, my wife and I are jetting off to the scenic mountains of Obodo Cattle Ranch.
Sometimes life doesn't care what day it is, but things are so much simpler when you have a plan, especially when it's a GT Assure plan. Choose Guaranteed Trust Assurance PLC for life and living.
for nourishment. Vote for Cowbell. Cowbell.
Welcome back. You are watching the 2011 NN24 presidential debate. Now, Malam Shekarau, let me start with you for this particular section of the program. What would you do if you are elected as president to provide adequate and sufficient power supply so that the Nigerian economy can be kick-started?
Thank you very much. It is a reality that the issue of power supply is the backbone for the development of our economy. The federal government has been attempting, of course, without achieving any success so far. What I believe is that we need to address the issue seriously. I am totally for the decentralization and privatization of the power sector, and also encourage the various segments of the society, be it the private sector, the public sector, to come together and create an environment that will enable investors to come into this sector. This has been said, but it has never been practicalized. That is why up till today, a number of states, including my state, we have done a lot of effort to bring in investors into this sector, but the various cumbersomeness of the process, the procedure. Remember, the federal government, that is the power holding company, is still owning the transmission and the distribution network. So even if you bring an investor that is coming to generate energy, you have to go into discussion, which is not within our control at the state level and the private sector, about the distribution network and the transmission network. So what we need to do is to make sure this sector is totally decentralized, but before you do that, you need to bring it up a little bit so that it will attract investors to come into it.
But this is part of the plan of the present PDP government, so you're not doing anything different than from what they are doing.
It is one thing to plan, it is yet another thing to sincerely and seriously pursue the plan and execute it.
General Muhammadu Buhari, are you satisfied with what the present PDP government is doing to try and resolve the power sector issues in Nigeria?
Certainly I am not. We have to try and see where were we in 1999. How much have we spent on power from then to now? What is on the ground now? Now, we are still revolving around 4,000 megawatts. This is what we were in 1999 after spending between $12 and $16 billion. There is a very big question mark for the ruling party, the PDP, to account to Nigerians what happened to that money, because the power is not available. Our old infrastructure, Kayenji, Jebba, and the thermal stations, what is happening to them? One would have thought they would first be brought into stream properly by optimum power from them, instead of going to build another 7 thermal stations, which none is on the ground yet, as far as we know, and we are not sure where the money is. There is going to be, and there is a very big question mark on how the infrastructure has virtually collapsed.
So we understand the problems.
Yes.
How will you solve them?
The way to solve it, as far as CPC is concerned, is the thermal stations we had, which are in place, plus Kayenji, Jebba, Shiroro, we put them properly to optimum utilization by refurbishing them. And then simultaneously, the government can afford it because we have the resources for the new ones that are to come up, like Mambila Plateau, which would give at least over 3,000 megawatts in itself.
Are you prepared to give a promise to Nigerians today about the amount you would produce and within which period if you are elected as president?
when we are elected, to be frank, we have to see the problem on the ground. How much is spent? What is our capacity of production at the time we are sworn in? And what happened to all the resources put into power between 1999 and now?
Your time is up, but I have to pursue that. I can't let it go. When you say you have to see what has happened to the resources that have been put into power, are you suggesting you'll be investigating past governments?
Well, we have to find out what happened to the resources. What the statement I am making...
Can we have some silence, please? Thank you.
The statement I am making, to my understanding, is very clear. We know where we were in 1999 when the PDP came. We will find out how much we spent up to today and how much power we have now. We know we had about 4,000 kilometers in 1999. We don't have more than that. And we have between $15 to $16 billion, not naira.
Okay, thank you so much.
In between.
Thank you. Now, Madam Nuhuribadu, in the generous answer, I think we can be allowed to infer that he is not totally happy with the way the funds that have been allocated to power have been spent. Do you see this as the major reason why we have an inadequate power supply, or do you think there are other issues that make it very difficult for us to get to where we're going?
You know what? Frankly speaking, it's not time of blame. The blame game should be over. We want action, we want electricity, Nigerians want to see light. And that's what we are going to do. I have 4 things that we are going to do, given the chance. First and foremost, we have to clear it and remove this confusion that is ongoing. Today in Nigeria, you don't even know who is the person in charge of our power sector. Is it the president? Is it the IPP? Is it the advisor? There are about 6, 7 agencies competing on who to control and direct our power problem and solve it. It's not possible for you to get results under this situation. We will sort it out. We will clear right. We will make one direction, and we are going to work on ensuring that Nigerians will see electricity. 2, we are going to work on the corruption part. The process. Make sure that the resources that goes in there is going to be used and that you will get results. We have seen what happened in the past. General said yes, but we spent about 10-point-something billion. In 1999, we had 2,000 megawatts. Today, we have 3,400. There is a gap. We spent over 10 billion to just generate 1,600 megawatts. There is something to ask about it. 3, on the issue of, you know, when you are in this business, there are 3 things that are important. Production, transmission, and distribution. Today, we seem to have put so much emphasis on the production without having to pay attention to the other. All of them must come at the same time for you to be able to see electricity. 3, you have to work on the security. Security is so central. One of the fundamental reasons why we did not get light in the last 4 or 5 years is because of the sabotage taking place in that sector. There are areas where it is almost impossible for you to do anything. We have to address it. 5, you have to diversify. We cannot rely on one single sector, one single source of energy. Today, we are all talking about gas and thermal. We need to look at other areas. You have seen what is happening today. You have seen what is happening in Japan. It is dangerous for you to rely on one source. Solar can give us electricity in small areas. Hydro, in a small way, can give us electricity. We have coal. We can work on clean coal for us to do. Those are the areas that we do intend to invest, work hard, and ensure that Nigerians will get electricity within a short period of time.
Thank you very much, Madam Nuhuribadu. Now let me go back to Malam Shekarau. Power of course, is just one of the infrastructural issues we have in Nigeria. There are many others. We have issues with roads. People die regularly on our roads. The impact of roads means also goods and services. People are not able to move freely and as they should. Air travel is perhaps one of the safest ways to move things in Nigeria now, but of course we know that is very expensive. I'd like to get a sense of what your party and you as president will do to sort of address the other infrastructural problems in Nigeria.
Well, I think the general problem of provision of infrastructure in Nigeria is not necessarily about the planning of what is required and what Nigerians would like to see. It is the same problem of lack of sincerity and commitment to service. We've just heard from my colleagues how much the amount of billions of dollars that the federal government, the PDP government, has sunk into the power and the energy sector, and nothing to show about it. The services are not there, the money. I think the same goes with the road infrastructure and most of the other infrastructure. When we come on board, given the chance, we are going to ensure sincerity of purpose and commitment to the service of the people and judicious management of resources. If I may give you an example quickly, this morning before I left Kano, I commissioned 150 million liters of water per day, the biggest in West Africa, and we learned